Welcome to the STEM Pathways with Rohan Sharma podcast, where we dive into the exciting world of science, technology, engineering, and math. In each episode, we share exciting stories, groundbreaking research, and inspiring interviews with experts and enthusiasts who are pushing the boundaries of innovation. Whether you're a student, a professional, or just curious about how the world works, join us as we explore the endless possibilities of STEM. Let's get started. Today, I'll be interviewing Sydney Collins, who holds a degree in rehabilitation psychology from UW-Madison and is currently working on a master's in bioethics at Harvard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
So, to get started, I wanted to ask what were your interests back in high school and what made you choose your major for undergrad?
So growing up I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, and growing up near that area, I definitely had high school involvement with the university, and I think that was very helpful. And they definitely focused on STEM outreach. And when I started college, I had initially thought that I wanted to go into medicine or PT, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Mhm. So, when you got to college, what was your experience like, and did you have to switch around at all, or do you kind of stick to the same path?
Yeah, I switched around a lot. I think that's very common and not always talked about. I think I switched around a little bit more than the average person, but I definitely had the preconceived notion that you need to stick with exactly what you went in with, and that was not the case for me. And each, I guess, change that I took was a nice learning experience. So definitely changed along the way.
Yeah. So you ended up doing rehabilitation psychology and disability studies. Can you talk a little bit more about what those are?
Yeah. So disability studies focuses on disability in a fairly radical lens, for lack of better words. It focuses on how society views disability, the social construction, and other more humanizing aspects of disability. And then rehabilitation psychology focused a lot on um, general psychology as well as psychology focused on those who recently became disabled or acquired a chronic illness and how they adapt to that. So they're both fairly interconnected.
Yeah. So during your undergrad, when did you realize that you want to move on and do grad school?
Yeah, I think going into my undergrad, I knew I wanted to do grad school. I did not know what that looked like. For a while, I thought physical therapy. For a little bit, I thought law school. And it wasn't until my end of my junior year that I decided I wanted to go on to a program in bioethics. Um, but I definitely went in with the mindset of I want to obtain further education.
So during your undergrad, what kind of activities were you involved in?
Yeah, I think similar to my varied path, I was involved in a lot of different activities, multiple research positions, which were very helpful. I conducted research for the CDC and Wisconsin Department of Health Services. And then my senior year, I was fortunate enough to work in a quantum physics lab, creating outreach and educational material. And then I also was a part of a student magazine. I did writing, I did some creative endeavors. And I think despite knowing I wanted to stay in STEM or end up with STEM, it was definitely enriching having the wide variety of experiences that I might not have got had I just done research.
So for people going into college right now, do you have any advice for them related to like doing things outside the classroom?
Yeah, I would say yes to everything, in the beginning at least. And even if you're not sure what you like, you figure that out through, at least in my experience, through activities, through what you do. And I tried to always look at experiences, regardless of whether or not I liked them, as being stepping stones. So I would just say to try as much as possible, even if you're not sure that's the direction you want to go in. And you can always take a different path.
As someone going into college right now, I definitely like when you said you were kind of scared of switching majors at the start and thought you had to stick with something. Like, I guess there's definitely a fear in the back of my mind that like I'm gonna waste time doing things that aren't gonna help me in the future. So that is a good piece of advice. Um, so were there any classes you did during undergrad that shaped you a lot or really like developed your interest in the field?
That's a good question. I really enjoyed a lot of my higher level classes, and they really helped me um, identify or better understand the importance of humanities in STEM. I think sometimes they're looked at as antithetical and there are differences, but I really enjoyed the classes that challenged me to think about how I thought about science and the importance of humanities. And that's ultimately why I ended up doing a program in bioethics. So I enjoyed those classes that were a bit unconventional, I suppose.
So you said you worked on doing education for quantum computing. Um, so I guess that's kind of where you have STEM and humanities going hand in hand. What'd you do there?
Yeah. So I first learned a bit of like basic quantum knowledge. I didn't have a background. So I just picked up some of the basic theory and I essentially worked to develop tactile models, exhibiting or demonstrating quantum principles. And this included like programming a haptic pen, so um, a device that gave you touch feedback. It looked like 3D printing and rendering. Um, I really enjoyed it. It was a bit of a learning curve, but I loved the people that I met, and I just think it added to what I got from UW-Madison.
Yeah. So when you're choosing your grad schools, what made you want to go to Harvard?
Yeah, I think some of it was a bit, I don't know if being realistic is the right word, but I had originally thought I wanted to go on to academia, and where you go to grad school is fairly important. However, I would say I also really liked that, for example, you could cross-register into different programs here. And so, in addition to the name, which does carry weight, there were also just aspects of the program that I really enjoyed and that when I visited, I liked.
So what kind of things have you been involved in over the last year?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, I did some volunteering with a organization that actually works to bring high school students into medicine. So that was really cool. And recently, I've been working on um, I guess, memorandum for onboarding an AI tech consultant to one of the labs that we work in, or I work in, excuse me. And that's just really looking at the intersections of sociology and technology, which has been really interesting. And then I've also had the chance to write for a Museum of Science newsletter, which was very cool.
And what are your class? So you're getting a master's in bioethics,
Mhm.
and as from what I could tell, is that like a very, very broad field?
Yeah, there's definitely like it covers a wide range of, I guess, topics, and there's even some argument as to what exactly bioethics entails. So some may argue it means something else to different people, but it's definitely very broad. And my classes, I guess, focused more so like got into the specifics.
So you said going into grad school, you're kind of thinking of going into academia. What do other people going into bioethics usually plan on doing afterwards?
Yeah, so we had an interesting mix of individuals who were already in their career, as well as individuals who came from undergraduate programs or gap years. Quite a few students want to go on to medical school. There are a few students who want to go into law school. And then many of the individuals who are already far on in their careers are doctors, are providers, are involved in medicine, science, research. And so it was really cool to see the variety of what people wanted to do and or were doing. And I think it really enriched like what I got from this program.
And as of now, what are your plans right after graduating?
Yeah, so I am currently applying to research assistant positions. I definitely want to take a gap year, potentially more, just with the current state of funding for graduate programs. And I eventually want to obtain a doctorate, either in the anthropology or history of medicine. However, I'm also considering law school as well, which is a bit of a departure. Um, but I anticipate that the experience I get in the few years before my next program will help me further decide what path I want to take.
So as you talked about like being involved with multiple different labs until now, and you said that you want to be a research assistant. Oh, what kind of research do you want to go into after trying so many different things?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in a focus on qualitative research. I'm also very interested in community-centered research. So having participants make more meaningful contributions as opposed to just being a participant. Um, and I'm very interested in the way we think about things. So some of my research this year was in how we think about AI, conceptualize it, and I would honestly be happy obtaining a doctorate in that. I guess I would just say the intersections between social sciences and STEM.
Yeah. So, do you have one piece of advice for someone who wants to go down a similar career path as you and who's currently in high school or college?
Yeah, I guess two pieces of advice. One, I briefly said earlier, but just remember that not everything is set in stone. You may have, or you may go into college or even start high school with a notion of what you want to do, and that might completely change, and that is very fine. Um, and then I guess to involve yourself in a wide variety of activities. I think some of the more unconventional things I guess I did for my major, such as writing for a student magazine, while they weren't STEM related, obviously, they did bring new insights to what I wanted to do. So I would say try try everything and try and remember that nothing is set in stone. You can always change.
All right, then. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.